In the last video, we covered the essentials of Dplyr and looked at some basic built-in functions. In this video, we're going to cover a few additional packages that you can load into your R project to do even more data wrangling. We'll specifically look at data cleaning, reshaping data, and joining datasets. We'll be using the same dataset as last time, the Billboard Hot 100 songs, and I'll leave a link to it in the description. Anyway, let's get started. So we're first going to start by loading in our Dplyr and reader libraries, and then loading in our Billboard 100 dataset. We're also going to grab our code from last time to select the date up to the artist columns, and then rename the weeks on board columns to week popular. Let's just go ahead and run that and see what our output looks like. We have our date, our rank, our song, our artist, and then weeks popular. And this is all going to be in our music df data frame. Now looking at this data frame, I do see a couple of issues right off the bat. First of all, if we look at our date column, we notice that it's a character vector. So it's a little tough to do any kind of time series analysis. Ideally, we want to convert it to a date type. Another issue I notice is that this artist column doesn't only have one artist. Sometimes it may have a featuring artist, like right here, Rihanna featuring Drake. So we want to clean this up as well. We're going to go back to our code. We're going to create a new cell. I'm using Command-Alt-I to create a new cell block. And then I'm going to load in the lubridate package, which helps us deal with date and time values. And I'm also going to load in the stringr package, which is really helpful for string extraction and matching. And of course, I'll put the links to these cheat sheets for these packages, along with anything else I'll be using, down in the description. So let's load in these packages. Now we'll start first by cleaning up the date column. Like I mentioned, it says that it's a character vector, so let's convert it to an actual date. If we take a look at our lubridate cheat sheet, we see that there are some functions for parsing date times. It looks like we can use the mdy function here to parse our date column. So in our code, I'll grab the music data frame that we're working with, and I'm going to pipe that into our mutate function, which helps us add columns. And our current column is called date, so we're going to replace it with a new column called date, and we'll wrap date in that mdy function. So if we look at our date column now, we notice that the type is date, and all of the strings have been parsed into actual date types. So now we can use all the other date-related functions from the lubridate package, such as floor date, which takes in a specific unit of time, and it'll round the date down to that unit. So if I grabbed all the distinct dates in our data frame, we can see that there are a few in January of 2011, some in February, but if I wanted to round down all of these data points to be January 1st and all of these to be February 1st, that way we could aggregate our data based on month. It would actually be pretty simple. I could just pipe again, create a new column called month, and then call that floor date command from lubridate. We're going to pass in the date column, and then we can specify any unit of time here, but since we want to round down to the month, we'll pass in month. And now we can see everything that happened in January has been rounded down to the January 1st, everything in February has been rounded down to February, and so on and so forth. We can also easily extract components of the date, like the month, the week, the quarter, etc. And additionally, lubridate has functions for dealing with date times, so if you had that data, you could extract the hour, the minute, the second, and so on. Now we also want to clean up our artist column by splitting up artist into two columns. We're going to have one column called primary artist and another column called featured artists. And we'll be using the str_detect and str_match functions that are built into the stringr package. str_detect detects the presence of a pattern of a string, so it takes in a string and then a regular expression pattern, and then it returns true if that pattern was found. str_match allows you to extract the match groups from a string, so you can pass in a string and a regular expression pattern, and it'll return a character vector with all the matches, and you can choose which group you want to extract. So if that sounds a little confusing, don't worry, let's just work through an example. So I'm going to delete upper code up until this mutate command, because we want to keep that new date column. I'm going to make a new column called primary artist, and this is where it gets a little tricky. So looking at our data frame, for primary artist, if the word featuring is in the cell, we want to grab everything before the word featuring, but if featuring isn't in the cell, we just want to grab the actual value. So we're going to use the if-else command, which takes in a condition, and then the value to return if the condition is true, and then the value to return if the condition is false. So we'll start with if-else, and the condition that we want to check first is whether or not the artist column has the word featuring. So we'll use str_detect. We'll pass in our artist column, and we just want to see if the pattern featuring is there. Now, what value do we want to return if featuring is in the column? We want to return everything before the word featuring. So the next argument we'll pass in will be str_match, which helps us extract our match groups. We'll pass in our artist column, And now we need to specify the regular expression pattern to grab everything before the word featuring. So we can use the dot to match any character, and then a star to signify that it's going to be 0 or more characters. And then we're going to have a space, which will have to do a //s instead of just a /s because it's an escape character, and then the word featuring. But strmatch still doesn't know exactly what we want to extract from here. We want to extract this part, which is any character before the space featuring, so we're going to put this in parentheses to signify that we want to capture this group. And lastly, if we were just to run this on a cell, it would return first the full match, which would be this whole string, so it would be Rihanna featuring, and then the second match, which would be Rihanna. So we want to grab the second group. So we're going to use the brackets and grab the second value. And now the last argument that we need to pass in is what should we return if the word featuring isn't there, and that's just the artist name. So we'll put in artist. So I'll close that off, and we can run it just to take a look. And let me actually just select artist, primary artist, just so we have them side by side. And we can see that when the artist does not have a featuring, it just returns the artist name. And when it does have a featuring, it just returns what's before the word featuring. Great, and now we just want to make one more column for our featured artists. So we'll delete this code and start writing our new featured artist, which is going to be similar to this. So we don't need to use an if-else here because if there's no match, it'll just return NA, and that's totally fine. We can actually just use this strmatch command, so I'll actually copy this. And now the only difference here is that the artist that we're trying to grab is going to come after the word featuring. So instead of .star space featuring, it'll be featuring space and then .star in our capture group. And again, we need to pass in number 2 here because if we did 1, it would return the whole string, since the full match is always going to be the first thing that's returned. But by passing in 2, we'll grab everything that's in these parentheses. So I'll close off that. So now I'll just select our artist, our primary artist, and our featured artist. And I'll zoom out a bit just so we can see these. So anytime there's the word featuring, we see that we grabbed our primary artist, which was everything before the word featuring, and then our featured artist, which was everything after the word featuring. And just from doing a quick spot check, this looks a lot better to me, and I think it'll be easier to do more analysis on our data now. So I'm actually going to assign this data frame now to be musicdf.cleaned, and I can run this whole cell. Actually, I'm also going to get rid of that select so we have all of our data. And if I open this up, we should have all the columns we had before, but also our primary artist and featured artist now. So another common data scenario is reshaping your data. For instance, if you want to transpose your rows into columns or vice versa. So we're going to load in the tidyr package, and I've already installed this, but it gives us some more functions for organizing tabular data, such as pivot longer and pivot wider. So looking back at our data set, right now we have one column for primary artist, and a whole separate column for featured artist. But if we wanted to reshape our data so we just had one column with all the artist's name, because right now they could show up in either of these columns, and then another column specifying whether or not that artist for that row was a primary artist or featured artist, we would have to reshape our data set. So let's try doing that with the pivot longer function. Pivot longer converts your specified column names into one column, and it puts the respective values into a new column. So we'll grab our musicdf dataset, and let's just take a look at the distinct song, primary artist, and featured artist, just so we don't have a ton of duplicate rows. Now, like I mentioned, we want to end up with just song column, an artist column with all of the artist names, and then another column, let's say artist type, that tells us if they were a featured artist or a primary artist. So we'll call pivot longer, and we have to specify the columns that we want to pivot on, and we can do this by indexing the column numbers. So we're going to do 2 to 3, which is the second and third column. We also have to pass in a names2 parameter, which is either going to be primary artist or featured artist. So we'll call this artist type. And we also have to specify the column name for the values. So we'll just do artist name. So if I go ahead and run this, now we'll have all of our artist names contained in just one column. And if there's no featured artist, it's going to impute the NA. And if you're wondering why this might be useful, well, let's filter for an artist, and let's actually check out Drake. And we can see that there's some songs where he's a featured artist, and there's some songs where he's a primary artist. And theoretically, going back to our old data frame, we could have done a filter to check if primary artist was Drake or if featured artist was Drake. But having all of our artists in just one column can be useful for other types of analysis. For instance, I can really easily figure out how many times he was a featured artist and how many times he was primary artist just by counting on the artist type. And we can see in all the distinct songs, he was a primary artist 135 times and featured 48 times. But just a quick note, If there's any situation where there are multiple featured artists and Drake is one of them, then obviously this filter condition won't match, so it would be excluding that data. We're not going to fix it now just because this is a tutorial, but that's just something to keep in mind. So pivot wider essentially does the opposite of pivot longer. It takes one column with a different set of values and then makes those different values into different columns. So for example, let's just filter for the songs that have ranked in the top 3 spots using that rank column that we have. So we'll filter where rank is less than or equal to 3, and we'll select the date, the rank, and the song, and just take a look at that. So pivot wider, as the name suggests, can make our data frame wider. So right now we have rank contained in just one column, but what if I wanted to have for each date a rank 1, a rank 2, and a rank 3 column? Well, that's when I'd use pivot wider. So it's pretty simple to use. We'll just call pivot wider, and now we have to pass in names from, which is going to be the column that we want to essentially make wider, and that's going to be rank. And then we're going to pass in a values from parameter, which is going to be the actual values it'll impute into those columns, and that's going to be from our song. So if we run that, now we have for each date the rank 1 song in one column, the rank 2 song in another column, and then the third ranking song in the last column. Now let's move on to merging some data frames. Merging data frames is definitely something you'll likely do in R, and it's really not too difficult with Dplyr. So I found another dataset online of 10,000 MTV's top music artists, and I'll put a link in the description, but let's check out our dataset. We've got the name of the artist, some social media links, and then the genre of the artist. I don't really care too much about these social media links, but I think it'd be useful to connect the artists in our Billboard 100 data frame with the artists in this data frame. That way we can get the genre of the music, and maybe even see what the most popular genres are. So before we start merging and joining our data, let's talk about the different types of joins that there are, because it'll affect what your merged dataset looks like. First is the inner join, or just the join, which will only keep the rows of each table where there's a match. So if there's a data point in the first table that doesn't exist in the second table, that row won't appear in our inner join dataset. Next is the left join or left outer join, which will keep all the rows in the first table, but only the rows that match the condition in the second table. So your merged dataset will still have all the rows of the first table, and then impute null values in the columns of the second table if there's no match. The right join or right outer join is essentially the same thing as the left join, but it retains all the rows in the second table and only keeps the rows in the first table that match the condition. And then the full join or full outer join retains all rows in both tables. I'm going to do an inner join here, which will drop all the rows in both the Billboard 100 and MTV data frames where there's no match. So this means that any analysis we do now will ignore potentially a lot of data points and could give you inaccurate results, but we'll come back to this in a second. So I've grabbed my musicdf clean dataset, and I'll call that inner join command, and we've already implicitly passed in musicdf.cleaned as our first argument to inner join, and we want to join it to the MTV data. We also need to specify what column we want to join on, so let's take a look at our column names. In musicdf.cleaned, we want to join on the primary artist, and on MTV data, we want to join on the name column. So we'll specify by, which is going to be how we're joining our data, and we're going to say primary artist, which is the column in the musicdf data frame, is going to be equal to the name, which is going to be the artist column in MTV data. And just to see if our join worked, we're going to select our song, our primary artist, and the genre. And now the song, which comes from our musicdf data frame, has a genre attached to it, which comes from the MTV data frame. So if we want to quickly do some analysis to see what genres are most popular in the Billboard Hot 100, let's filter out all of the NA rows for genre and look at our distinct rows. So if there were multiple songs that were in the Billboard Hot 100, now we're just looking at each individual one. And now we want to count on the genre name, so we can see that there are 49 different genres. And then if we want to grab the top 15, we can just call top n 15. And now just getting this in descending order, we'll arrange it with descending by n. And now we can see in order the most popular genres by how many songs they have of that genre. I think it'd be interesting to see if there's any visible trend in popularity of these genres over the last decade. We can actually really easily pipe our data into the graph functions with ggplot2. So let me load in our ggplot2 library, and instead of seeing how all these genres vary over time, I just want to look at the top 5. So we can take the same query that we wrote before. I'm going to change this to 5. And I just want to get these genre names into a vector. So I don't really need this line to arrange it, but I am going to call the pull command on genre. And this will just get me a vector with the top 5 genre names. And we can use this when making our graph. Let me just save this as top 5 genres and set it equal. And let's come down here to where we want to make our graph. And I'll copy a bit of this code, maybe up to here. So this is just joining our two data sets together. And now let's select our date, our song, and our genre. We can see what this looks like. And now we want to filter for the rows where this genre is in our top 5 genre. So we'll call filter where genre is in top 5 genres. And initially this has 35,000 rows, but if I run this, we go down to 23,000 rows. Now I just want to see how many songs of each genre are there for each date. So I want to use that count function, and we'll group by the date and the genre. And now we can see on the first week for Billboard Hot 100 of 2011, there were 2 contemporary country songs, 19 country, 2 hip hop, and so on and so forth. But I do have a feeling that if we graph this data, it's going to be quite messy to read, and we should probably aggregate this by either month or year. First, we'll take a look at what the data looks like. So we'll pipe this into ggplot. We're going to set our aesthetic, where the x-axis is going to be our date, the y-axis is going to be the n value, so the count, and then we're going to pass in color, just so we can distinguish the different lines, and each line is going to be based on their genre. So we'll pass in genre. And then we just need to add the geom line layer, and we can take a look. Let's zoom out a bit. So this data looks pretty messy. I think it'd be better if we aggregated the data by either month or year. So let's try doing that. We're just going to create a new column called date that's going to overwrite our previous date, similar to what we did before. And we're going to call the floor date function. And let's pass in date, which is the column that we're going to floor by. And then the unit, which let's try a year. And then we'll pipe this into the rest of our data. So again, this will take anything that happened in, let's say 2011, whether it's in January or February or December, and it'll make it all January 1st of 2011. And then for 2012, it'll make everything that happened in 2012 into January 1st of 2012. And this is just so we can group our data by the years. So if we run all of this, now our data is a bit smoother and a little easier to interpret. So just based off this graph, it looks like most of these genres have decreased in popularity over time, especially pop and country. So it's possible that some of the other genres became more popular, but what's also possible is that when we did an inner join with our MTV dataset, we might have unintentionally dropped a lot of rows for more recent years. And this would certainly be the case if the Billboard Hot 100 artists from the last few years weren't in the MTV dataset to begin with. So we need to further investigate if other genres are becoming more popular, while the top 5 are becoming less popular, or if we just have a lack of data. These were some advanced Dplyr concepts I felt were worth covering, but if you do any kind of data wrangling or data cleaning, I'm sure you'll be using at least one of these packages. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.